Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, Paranormal Portal Podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together. Welcome in, gatekeepers. How are you doing? Hello, Uncommon. Welcome in, D-Rock. Hey, Renice. How you doing, love? Good to see you. Good to see you. So, as our gatekeepers roll in here, I'd like to welcome you to night 7 of our summer event, our Revolutionary Rewind. This has been an absolute blast. I hate that I'm done with the documentary of Liberty, the 1997 PBS that we just did 6 shows on. We have, I say we, it's me and the mouse in my pocket. Did I ever tell you that story? I was working at PetSmart, and I was at PetSmart manager school. It's called Get Smart. It was in Clarksville, Kentucky, and it was at a PetSmart there. And they were, they treat you right. I mean, they gave me a rental car and a nice hotel and paid 2 meals a day. It was nice expense card and everything. I went in there in my Columbo coat and my, my suitcase. Anyway, manager school. So you have to learn all the different stuff. And at PetSmart, that's really saying something, because you've got specialty areas. So you've got fish and reptiles and snakes and things that you might not know anything about. And then you've got your dog, which is species and different things you got to know about that. And then cats, and then you got hamsters and gerbils and you name it, that they have. And then they have the birds. So you have to learn a little bit about each one to be a manager. You have to be able to open and close each section, which is insane. For, I think, $7.48 an hour at the time. Basically minimum wage, and then you work your way up as your manager, lead, and all that. You know how it goes. Retail. So it's almost as bad as hospitality, where you're making $2.01 an hour, and people look at you like, you want a tip? And now, don't get me started. Now it's some guy from God bless him, Uganda or something, answers your drive-through order, and nice as all get out, but he's not in there. He's not in there. He's not in that building. Okay, he's in the box, and that box is getting tossed up to the satellites, and then and then they're shooting it over to, and okay, creating jobs all over the place. Don't get me started. So anyway, and then you go up to the girl who just got it. The guy in the back is working by himself in the back there. He's making the hamburgers. He's shaking the fries, salting the fries. He's putting all the stuff together, putting it all in the bag, making your shake, making sure you got a straw if you request one, because now you got to ask for everything. Would you like a bag? Yeah, I want a bag. Yeah, yes. Put it in a bag. What do you think I'm going to do? Juggle it while I drive? So, it's got crazy. But the guy from, the Sudan or whatever, he's not in there. And she just grabs the bag from the guy who's back there doing all the things. And then she turns the thing around and wants me to tip her. I'm like, sweetie, first of all, you're sitting down. I'll tell you what, I'm an old woman and I work all day standing up. I see young girls that I work with all day long sitting on stool. Who can floral design sitting on stool? Anyhow, I don't know. They don't make them like they used to. So anyhow, I don't know even why I brought that up. the thing is about tipping, it's gotten really crazy. But I hear that that somebody said that it's possible. And, I tend to believe this person because this person actually seems to me that they were back through one time before. And if my mind is correct, it's like we kind of know what the person's kind of like, because they were here for like 4 years. And at that point in time, it was really weird, but it seemed like anything that person said that they were going to do, they did it. And nobody said he did it. We knew, like, behind the scenes, like, it was done. And we all looked at it and said, look at that, got done. What's that? That's an awesome law. That's a great fix there. That's great that thing got open and all those people got those jobs, and we're starting to do that kind of stuff again here. And, I love all that. We'll make our own marbles kind of thing. Jobs. The Industrial Revolution was when we were doing our best. Look, we even did shows on it, right? So it's almost a guarantee that if that person says it's going to get done, and then somebody 2-3 weeks later comes in, says to do the same thing, and I believe it was something about no tax on tips. So that would be nice for people out there busting tail. You got some person that's doing half a dining room on a split trying to feed kids. They deserve a break today. You know what I mean? So I think that would be a given. That right there is almost enough if you've ever waited tables. That's today's world, the crazy world of today. I don't know how things are going on your day. I had a pretty good day. Nice. Weather was nice. Did some yard work this weekend. How about you? I think it's important to make time for the regular things. You got to keep doing the regular things, people. And you can get caught up, but you got to keep doing that, because if not, you turn around and you're behind. So here's the thing. This is night 7, and this has been a funny journey for me as far as Sons of Liberty, because I'm torn between on this show. The last one was a given. It was fantastically well put together. The cinematography was great. The way they had the actors, really, even if they just had one paragraph to say, you could tell their, in their facial expressions, their whole thing, they were just gave it all they had. It was wonderful. And all of the lines were taken directly from documents, journals, things like this, letters of the character. So if it was John Adams had written this. So it's great because you hear their words out of their, the actor's mouth portraying them. I loved that concept. I loved hearing from the young soldier who we started in his journal right from the very beginning. I'm just going to sign up because everybody else is. And, I'm hearing about being a soldier. I want to be one. I hope I get training. I'm not going to be able to stand hearing everybody else come back and tell their tales and me not be able to say anything. I stayed here and I milked cows and worked the field, It was amazing after 8 years almost for that kid. And he was a kid when he left, and when he came back, he was certainly a man. And how he felt and how different things were, and saying goodbye to all his comrades, the people that he fought with, and his brothers, and his, and he said, how long, and you'll never know how long and how hard we suffered. You couldn't. And we spent so much time together, and then just, that's it. Everybody just walked off into their direction. And after, everybody thinks everything falls into place. The restoration is, that's absolutely ridiculous thought. Because in the Civil War, same thing, years for Reconstruction. And of course, the Revolutionary War was no different. And you have we looked back and we saw what happened to the loyalists that, could not stay anymore in their country. They had to go back to England, and they didn't belong there either. So it's really, I think that what it boils down to is war sucks. And it's amazing to me how some people think that it was just that little tax, well, didn't they get upset about some stamps? No, honey, no, it was a lot more than some stamps. And the way that boiled over, you could see the slow boiling of the frog there too, because it was a decade before that. It was more than that. But it takes a while for all the people to get together and realize they're all mad at the same thing at the same time, because hey, Slow, welcome in, sweetie. And it takes a while for that wildfire of those words to spread. Okay. And they're starting to get a little bit more, communication. I believe in one of the shows we watched, it might have been Liberty. It might have been one of the ones I showed. I don't know. I don't recall now, but that's when it was when Samuel Adams and the guys that were meeting under the elm tree at that time in Boston Common to talk about what we need to do. Something that's getting out of hand, right? He was the one that sent people out and said, look, we got to send out, see what's going on in the other colonies, because it's obviously not just us. This is getting a little crazy. So the reason I mention all that, try to jump all over that for a minute, is to remind everybody how complex all this was. It's not just one thing. It wasn't just one person. It wasn't just one, good versus evil or any of that. There was, we know there was both on both sides. There was violence. There was things done. There was, bones broken. There was fist fights in the streets. There were people tar and feathered. There was, neighbor destroying neighbor's house because they were loyalists, and people who wanted to independence and to be free and away from the king's rule, right? So it's so complex that even you have to add on another minimum 10 years after the fact for the restoration and getting everything sorted and getting the Constitution, written. Now it's 25 years from where we're pinpointing it, and we know it goes beyond on both sides, right? So again, I say all that to remind us how confusing and anybody who wants to learn about history usually learns, an outline of all of, the Revolutionary War, just like we just said, to the, assumed end, but we know it's not the end. The 25-year mark. And it muddies the waters even more so when we allow people to go out there and just take that and run with the facts, to embellish stories, little as they may be, about George Washington and his cherry tree, or just say things like, when we first started this in our very first episode, people were saying things about George Washington that were just, they were so flippant and so short and so matter of fact and wrong, because that man, without his stamina, without his intestinal fortitude, and many others around him, but he was the one. It was like stay or go, right? If he had broken, not even one of his good trusted generals, Benedict Arnold, going over to the other side and offering to give West Point and the country over to the British, could break him. And Benedict Arnold was a son of liberty, right? So when Sons of Liberty came out and the History Channel came out with this series, I was very excited to see it. Then I started reading ahead of time about it, how they were going to take a lot of literary license and everything else. And, oh no, because here we come, we're muddying the waters again. And any kids trying to get into this are going to be totally confused, right? And of course they throw back, the whole reason they're doing it is to get kids interested, so they'll dig. No, they're going to remember what you showed them as fact, and it's not. And that's why we're doing tonight. So if you watch Sons of Liberty with us, it was a 3-part series, 2 hours apiece, I believe, on each episode, so about 6 hours of view time. And it's free on Tubi and Plex, I think, and a couple other places. I know it's on Prime and streaming all over. But if you watched it, you also got the idea, wow, this was a good miniseries. It had everything. It had action. It was kind of like a rom-com almost. It was a horror, to show that the people that had power and how they wielded it over the trampled on the colonists, and whipped them in the street to show everybody, made children watch, and it was did horrible things happen? Yup. Did they happen the way Sons of Liberty said? Well, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And to help me talk about this tonight, I brought two people on with me. They both watched this. I do not know what they think about it. We haven't talked about it. It's all going to be, just bringing it out, right here live with you guys and in the chat as well. So if you watched it with us, please, throw your ideas up there, throw your thoughts. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you make you mad? And can you watch something that is supposed to be history, and in your mind, be struggling with the constant, well, that didn't happen. He wasn't anything like that. Who the hell is that? Is that Washington? That kind of stuff through the whole damn thing, because but at the same time, you're being drawn in by this action, fantastic acting, wonderful cinematography, terrific music, and everything else. So to talk about this tonight, I'm bringing in Lynn Monet and Bryan Bowden, both of them authors, both of them wonderful podcasters in their own right, both of them experiencers in their own fields, and they are vast on both sides. So let's just bring them in here. First, ladies first, Lynn Monet. I believe she is going to be behind the avatar tonight. I'm sorry. She sent me a message. It's absolutely fine. Any way she wants to be with us, Miss Lynn Monet. Come on in here, Lynn.
Hi, everybody.
How you doing, sugar?
I'm doing okay. I threw my back out, so I'm sitting on a heating pad, and I took some medication or something, and my face is broken out in a rash. So I wanted to very much be a part of this tonight, and but I'm going to stay behind the scenes. So I send my love and light to everybody.
That you are hurting in any way, that you are if uncomfortable in any way, you just say what you want to say, and you can bop off or bop in and out anytime. Okay, so you take care of you first. Okay.
Well, fair warning. This internet in my whole neighborhood has been kind of spotty.
Wow.
So yeah, I may come and go a couple of times. So far, so good. But earlier today, we had no internet at all. But that's why I'm using my phone so that I can click into that other part. So
well, we're lucky to have you. We're lucky to have you. And if anything happens, we understand way ahead of time. We'll go with you first and get all your thoughts up front, just in case we lose you. And we'll try to get as much in as we can. And listen, and Bryan Bowden, and absolutely, he's my brother, and he's a friend. He's a friend, and
absolutely.
I'm looking really forward to seeing what he thought about this as well. And let's just get him in here, Bri.
He's a badass too.
Hi, sweetie.
Give me Cisco or give me death.
Absolutely.
I know, right?
And I got his shirt on tonight. Can you see it?
Well, I am born on the 4th of July.
Really?
Just so you know, that's
Yes,
why I'm wearing my flag shirt. And I grew up on Independence Avenue.
There you go.
And I'm a Freemason. So
here we are. And we're patriot.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's wonderful to go at this, because we all feel, I feel like I can speak, and if I'm wrong, please tell me I'm wrong, that all of us are really big into, if you're going to tell history, tell it right. If you're going to tell a ghost story, tell it right. If you're going to have an experience, tell it like it was. And truth means something if you're trying to learn. How can you learn on a bunch of lies? I never understood that. Why people would throw a bunch of lies at you and tell you can learn from that, whether it's in a history book. If it's a miscalculation, I always took great fondness in seeing when people, how quick they were to say, hey, I was wrong. How did it go again? This is great. I'm learning something here. That kind of person that would value the truth and the morals of, history even. So, Lynn, what do you think about that? I pretty much know how you guys feel, but just so you can speak for yourself.
I've enjoyed watching, being a part of this, because as I had mentioned before, history was not my forte. I was more of a math and science kind of person. So I am learning so much of it, having the aha moments But I enjoyed this episode. It's a great segue into a whole bunch of other things that just opening up. I did watch the first episode more than once to make sure that I didn't miss some things. But I'm really enjoying this. I'm looking forward to. I didn't want to cheat and move ahead too much because I didn't want to get anything confused with what we would be talking about tonight and give any spoiler alerts away by accident. But I mean, yeah, this I there again, I don't want to ruin stuff for people that haven't heard it or seen it yet, but there are so many twists and turns to this, and it's gonna be fun to do this tonight.
I agree. And here's the thing. If you have not seen it, there will be spoiler alerts tonight because we're actually describing it's basically legends and lies. We're trying to take fact and fiction, and we don't have time to go over the whole 6 hours because I'm here to tell you, hon, it's just faster if I tell you this is the dates, this is the bullet points, these are the people's names,
Right.
and then the rest we're filling in because it just they really woo. But it's going to be fun going over a few of them and stuff. Bryan, how do you feel about this?
Well, spoiler alert, we won.
Yeah.
On top of that, this is the same thing that with that movie Titanic. There was no Jack and Rose, and it wasn't as romantic as you would think it is. And there's no special jewel and old lady. In one degree, if you present something and it encourages kids to say, "Hey, I want to go look more into this," and then they start reading about it, and understanding, like, wow, this was like totally not what was presented. That's one thing. But I also agree, if you're going to present things, do it the right way, and be more true to the script. Trust me, there's plenty of action, adventure, romance in the real story. Some of this extra stuff is too Disney in my book, and it's all lies.
That's gotten to be a dirty word for me. But
Yeah,
welcome in,
I know
Froze. Now,
that's
let me
right.
ask Froze something. Let me ask Froze because I know Froze has been watching along with. So, again, there's a lot of people out there that watch after the fact. They're not here in the chat. They come in the comments after, they email me or whatever, and they tell me, hey, I watched that. I started watching Liberty, the documentary. If you have not seen it, guys, please don't do it for me. Do it for you. Do it for your grandkids. Do it for the kid. Whatever in the future. If you have any way of downloading that, at least put it on a playlist on your YouTube.
Yeah.
Together. Even if you lock it and it's not global, so you can get to it if they don't take it down. But you can also get it through archives.org.
Yep.
And it's all right there. All 6 free, no commercials. And you watch them with a kid and explain it to them because again, they're not even teaching them cursive anymore. And if they're teaching
True.
like they're teaching with this, now this was, I need to get the correct date. I think it was 2015 maybe that this came out. I think it was the series.
Yeah,
so,
there.
And you talk to the cinematographer, again, I get it. I get the screenwriter. I get the director. I know the direction they were going in. We wanted to take the person out. We wanted to capture the feeling of the time. We wanted to get the feeling of the time. We wanted the people to get to know the individuals. Okay, great. You listen to the actors, and the actors are saying things like, and believe me, I checked. They're saying things like, well, he like say the John Hancock character, he was this way, he dressed this way. I studied how he dressed. I'm not saying anything about the dedication of each individual that was involved in this project. What I am saying is this was put out by the History Channel. I'm a teenage kid. I'm flicking the chat. Yeah, I'm going to land on the History Channel, but
Right.
it could happen. And you're going to see this because I'm drawn in by the sexified Samuel Adams, not complaining, only pointing out a fact. Here he is. He's supposed to be 51. They got some 25 cheeky monkey from the UK. Wonderful job he did. Wonderful job. But everybody's young. They've got Samuel Adams running rooftops and having fist fights in the street. This is a man who didn't want to undo a button in Continental Congress because it wouldn't look right. These guys were tough, but they weren't like this. And when did we get to a place where we don't know how to express through verbally expression of what emotion feels like rather than what it looks like. You know, when you show people that the only thing passion looks like is fist fighting in the streets through gangs in New York or whatever, or on your news, they don't teach people how to deal with those emotions. And I think there's a lot of that in this story too, how to deal with it, how to get through. What do you guys think about that?
I agree with that too. And as far as the show goes, yeah, I mean, people aren't going to want to watch a whole bunch of old farts. You know what I'm saying? That are barely moving. So they did have to, they did put some of the younger people in there. I still like the fact though that the truth is exposed in this, and it is definitely watch Liberty, because it's a great segue into this. You really need that because it just kind of falls into place right behind it.
I agree. And that is a bunch of old farts doing stuff.
Right.
And it was exciting. And I agree with what you're saying. Both things are true, though. Do you know what I'm saying? They wouldn't think it is, but every single one of us were riveted watching them,
Yeah,
or we wouldn't
were.
have been here.
No,
They would have left and went and watched, Bigfoot and whatever. And nothing that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying we watched it, Go ahead, Bri.
I mean, if you look at what Sam Adams actually looked like, he looked like a version of Bob Hope, actually. If you look at his facial features. And I would have been a little bit, I get it. The guy who's playing Sam Adams I mean, you ladies must have been like, yeah, okay. Pop a beer for me because it's going to be
again. I'm not complaining about the fist fighting and the beer fighting and the beer guzzling and the stuff like that. But it's not fucking true. No. He wasn't even there when certain things happen, and they're telling you that this historical figure, which you're supposed to find out what he really did and follow that as, I don't know, what do you want to be? Do you want to be a diplomat? Do you want to work in your local government? Do you want to be a teacher? Right. Do you want to be a lawyer? You have to hear the truth of how these people endured one of the most traumatic times in our history. So much happened. We're in one now. And here's something that might zap you all right in the gut. Those who know, if you know, that what they called that back then? Before, when the Sons of Liberty first started getting together, and we can actually pinpoint that going back even further, because these are people getting together, gathering at a table and agreeing on things, and things aren't right. So the first rumbles of these things where they were gathering, it was called and it was the same things were happening in other colonies. They just didn't realize it yet till they got together about 10-15 years later and started going, hey, we feel the same way. We just we have stuff in common. And they called it the Great Awakening. I swear to God. Well, they called it the Great Awakening. It's amazing. I was reading documents today. It blew my mind. Go ahead.
You have to understand that they needed the 10 to 15 years because, like you said, it's like a frog being boiled. Yeah. And the parallels of what's going on currently, or actually ever since the Patriot Act, is huge.
Which happened at 9/11, and it was on paper for 6 years before that. They were just waiting for something they could push it on.
They were waiting for whatever.
It sat and waited.
It's been a slow.
We got to be careful, but that's what it's true.
I'm just saying, guys. It's a slow boil. So it was. I mean, I've been in Boston many times.
We all have political Tourette's, so it's going to be a hard night. Right. Go ahead.
They're always ready to fight in Boston. Without
and even today,
especially
today.
It's a rowdy group.
But I mean, I would have liked to have seen, a little bit more realistic on the actual characters' features. A little bit more, make them look a little bit older. There was a lot of people that were a lot more distinguished.
Yes.
Looking, they didn't look sloppy like Sam Adams did. Sam Adams looked like he was somebody off of
like a pirate off of shit.
Yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean. I mean,
any of it. And it's you can't look at this. You cannot look at Sons of Liberty and say this is all pure fiction. You have to know how to cherry pick, because they threw down date shifting. They made one character, 3 characters. They made one general, another general, just because it would be interesting. It had nothing to do with that general. They literally took people's legacies and just threw them out the window and made up what they wanted to make up out of certain characters. And to
It
me,
would,
that's
yeah,
wrong.
it would have been better if they prefaced this is based on
Well,
events or something that would have said, listen, this isn't as exactly as it happened, but it is based on actual characters and
it would have
events.
been easier, Brian, if they said none of the shit you're about to see ever fucking happened. And the
Yeah,
people
but
that and the names that we're using are now rolling over in their graves, and because
yeah, I mean,
in a lot of ways, no, I mean, in a lot of ways they got it just right, and I think the actors got it just right in a lot of ways. But we're going to show you a couple of
yeah.
things of what we mean. But here is a little clip of what we're talking about, and we'll play a little bit of this, and then I've got a little video I made you that will show you a little bit about what Bryan and Lynn are talking about, because how they looked, the characters that played them side by side with the actual people, how they looked at the time of the Boston Tea Party, which is pretty much where Sons of Liberty kind of starts, right in front of, okay, and the Boston Massacre and everything. So here we go with this. Hope it's loud enough.
It's good.
Is it? Okay, babe. That's your George Washington. That's Sam Adams in the middle. Ain't he cute? There they are. Your Sons of Liberty, baby.
And
I love
he's a
the
hottie.
weapons were authentic. And there it is, my friends. They will be seen as Sons of Liberty. So again, you have your Ben Franklin. Now, their Ben Franklin, if each one came through and they described him as one word, their word for Ben Franklin was womanizer. Out of all the things Ben Franklin did for this country, the first library, the first, just so many things. So this is the man who figured out that different colored cloth retains heat in a different way. I remember teaching this experiment. We did experiments of Ben Franklin when I was homeschooling my kids. And that was something I still remember how he cut the different cloth out in different colors, and he had the women dye all the colors. And it was a big story. And that's how they learned that, if you wear black in the sun, you're going to get hot, and it's just being little kids. He's still affecting our lives, and they just womanize her. This poor actor, he was fabulous in it. Absolutely wonderful. But the whole thing, I think they started out with, look, you get to be really kind of a little gruff. We're not doing the quiet, thoughtful Franklin, the philosopher. We're not doing that. We're doing more of a quiet drill sergeant-y kind of guy, and you get to slap a lot of women's butts, because that's all he's doing. They emphasize so much of him, which is true, but he's so much more. So what did you think about that one?
Well, always let the lady goes first.
Oh,
go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
sweetheart.
No,
Go
no,
ahead.
I did, watching towards that end where he was talking to that one lady and mentioning that that he would like to have her give him a bath.
Yeah, right out the gate.
Spud, yeah, right off the bat.
Sponge bath.
I mean, the first thing that you see of him is him flirting or kind of requesting favors. And you know what? To be honest with you, Benjamin Franklin was one ugly dude. I don't know how on earth he could be a womanizer because he was not good looking at all.
He was so intellectual. He spoke to them and he listened to them, and they were intrigued by his stories and it did so much, there. And you don't get any of that in this. Everything was upfront that they were battlers. And I really kind of felt through the whole time I was watching almost like a Gangs of New York, kind of feeling that dark kind of, everything was dark and dingy. The opening scene here, which I couldn't show you guys because it's got music in it, and I know they would shut us down tonight. So I picked little things that would give us something to see, to get an idea. Go watch the whole thing. It's worth watching, but go in understanding that this is how it is. And like I said, and to us, I think the most irritating thing was, if this is all a young person sees, of course your visuals, it's like anything else. It's like the paranormal. How many cases have we been upset about because they just didn't tell the truth? There's so much good story there, and they screwed it up with lies just for the extra.
True.
How many? It's parallel to me. So
Yeah.
here's a little bit. Go ahead, Bri. I got another
Well,
short
yeah,
video here. Go
no
ahead.
problem. So let's stay on Franklin for a minute here.
Yes, please do.
Super intelligent.
Yep.
He definitely has a thing for the ladies in actual
Yep.
intercourse. We'll just get into that. He used to go to be a member of the Hellfire Club.
I don't think
Um,
Intercourse, Pennsylvania was named after
no,
Ben
no, no, no,
Franklin.
no. It wasn't
I
named
don't.
after, or neither Blue Balls.
Nope.
That was all Amish.
Hellfire
But
Caves is a whole nother episode, though.
yeah,
So,
well, he
there's a lot
was
of depth to Franklin.
he literally pushed the boundaries. Now, something very interesting because there's a lot of people here that do the paranormal. Ben Franklin is solely responsible for the Jersey Devil.
Really?
Yes,
Don't
he
you love this?
is.
Wow.
So fun.
The family that was in Jersey, I believe, Mother
Leak,
Reed,
leak, leak, leak,
Lead,
loke, lead,
something like that.
leads,
Sorry, like that.
leads.
So there, that family had what was considered an almanac, and they were Quakers. And at one point, they started doing things more um, astrological. So they would give you conjunctions and stars, and it kind of straddled the line
Yes.
of where the religious side would be. So when Ben Franklin wanted, he was coming out with Poor Richard's Almanac, which is what everybody knows now. That was his direct competition. So in order to kind of get rid of that direct competition, Franklin proposed that their family crest, which is a werven, which is a winged creature with a devil tail and like a lion head, that they were really practicing black magic and witchcraft, and they're Satanists. And, he pretty much put out there that their child was born a devil. And that's where you get the Jersey Devil from.
Isn't that
Totally
incredible?
ruined that family.
Isn't that totally
Yep.
incredible?
And he
I mean,
did that
seriously,
purposely.
this is why I told, Steve. Now, I did not know this story. I had heard hints of it before. So when Brian mentioned a little bit to me earlier, and he didn't tell me the story. And I just went, wait a minute, there is a connection there. It was like a spark went off, but the lights didn't come on. It was just a spark. And, I thought about it. But 2 weeks ago, I was talking to Steve and saying, that I was getting articles popping up and just weird things and videos and things and shorts, these little tickety talk things that the kids do about portals opening up in the Pine Barrens. And I was researching something else, so I didn't have time. I caught a little piece of it, and one of them was this real, God bless him, redneck guy. And I don't know where he came from. He's a piney out there somewhere, because I'll tell you, every 5 miles it gets a little deeper. You start sounding a little like Alabama, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's great, but I fall right into it because I'll start talking like him because I'm used to Alabama. So I start sounding whoever I'm talking to. So he leans in. He says, "I'll tell you what." He says, the guy's interviewing him, some local, and he's interviewing him. He goes, well, you live in the Pine Barrens, lived there all my life. And, and she's like, well, have you ever heard of any of these weird things? Weird stuff goes, lady. He's like, weird stuff goes on here all the time. Which weird stuff you talking about? And she said, well, we're hearing about portals and, people missing and, people, things like this. He goes, I don't know nothing about no portals, but I'll tell you what, if you ever go out in them woods, you don't lean on no trees because you ain't coming back. And then it cut. And
Right.
Steve's going, well, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. Apparently people are falling into trees and not coming back.
Well,
I don't know.
Doing research into this and, being close to the Pine Barrens, being down there several times, there was it is an area of high strangeness. There's an area of ley lines. There's an area, you got water in there, you got minerals, you got bogs.
Yeah.
And I think
you got people who live in Jersey there.
Right. Well, you got people in Jersey. What I do believe is the Jersey Devil and Mothman are and the stuff's going on in Chicago right now are all the same characters. And if you take into consideration the Cannonball Factory, and the munitions down there, and the energy used, again, not in the Pine Barrens, that could create a crack in our one of the
Not
timelines
to
or
mention, you'd
whatever.
got, monkeys in tight underwear up there pushing buttons at CERN and HARP and all
Well,
this other
I'm
crap
just saying
going on.
over time, the same thing happened in Point Pleasant.
And you got the
That,
bogs, the cranberry bogs. Have you ever heard of a
that's
place? It's got
yeah,
marshes and swamps and cranberry bogs and pine barrens and just
yeah.
just
It's a
these
strange
marshes,
place.
and it's just it's not pleasant. I
And
mean, there
and
are
it, and it
parts of New
plays on your
Jersey that are
mind.
absolutely gorgeous, but yeah,
Right.
and Camp Crystal Lake was shot there. Steve's friend saw a fully naked man in nothing but a clown mask and tube socks, lightly picking his way through the briar patches out there. This is also where somebody came alongside of the road, found a fresh pizza, still steaming, out in the middle of nowhere, not near the road, not on a path.
Sure, that's not Florida, because
No,
that
it's a
sounds
pine
like a
barren.
Florida man. You know what? It's
I'm
just
going to show.
it's just a strange location. But again, you take
I
what's going
concur.
on there, munitions. You throw in Ben Franklin's BS, so he
Uh-huh.
can capture the market.
Oh, he could spin
And
a yarn, honey.
oh my God! And this
How
is
do you
why.
think he got those young ladies? Never mind. To,
Let
to
me,
give them to give
you
them a
know,
sponge bath.
I know that's right.
exactly.
Let me
Yeah,
throw this video down so these
show
guys
it.
can see what we're looking at. Now, some of these are side by side comparisons of who I personally think the best combination for for the actors, compared to the real life people they were playing, was probably. I loved the Washington. I loved Washington's. All look. His effort jar was completely empty in this thing. He did not care anymore. He came in guns blazing in this show. And I've got clips of that so you can see what I mean. It was
Right.
fantastic. I loved seeing Washington like this because I honestly believe that there was a great part of Washington this way. One of his greatest things we pulled out in a couple of episodes we've done before, his biggest thing he was always worried about was how he was perceived, and going through the shit they went through and he's still caring about this. It blows my mind. That in the Civil War they had this kind of thing. How am I perceived? We're still gentlemen. We're still dressed. Might be wearing these clothes for 80 damn days, but by God, the buttons are going to be buttoned and the lace is going to be floofed.
Yep.
That kind of stuff blows my mind. So the thing with Washington was his anger. He had a hard time quelling that and keeping it down, and he never wanted to lose it in front of his men, and he did like twice. Once really kind of major, and then just almost folded afterwards. He was just so defeated that he had allowed himself to do that. Not the battle that was raging around him, not getting a horse shot out from under him twice, not from coming into that battle with, like, I don't know how many bullet holes in his jacket where he was holding up and just went through. So it was the fact that he lost his grip on his control, on his self-control. So you really have to dig into some of these guys. And again, I think that they tried to do this. I think the actors tried to do this, but yeah.
Well, in that scene that we just saw, where they said as Englishmen and they made fun of it. See, this is the problem.
Yep.
The contempt that the British or
Yes.
the
Yes.
English had for
So much.
their subjects, which were technically English, um, really pissed people off. And something similar to that, like when you push people enough, you start poking that bear,
Yes.
and you like, oh yeah, you're not English, ha
These
ha ha.
monsters came out, that your
Well,
monster, your inner person. But then again, it's like the shadow people, Brian, you and I have always
yeah,
talked about. And I think I've spoken with Lynn about this. I know I've
Oh
talked in the
yeah.
chat. That shadow person you have to bring out. This is who I have to be now to make this happen. And it didn't happen overnight. It happened gradually. And that's one of the things that bothered me about the opening scenes of Sons of Liberty. I mean, you both saw
right.
the opening scene. The opening
Yes.
scene is the opening scene. We might as well tell them if they haven't seen it. Is pretty much Samuel Adams is standing on his head. That's how you first see Sam. Okay,
Yep.
the opening scene is a brawl in the streets in a very dark, eerie, desolate, very Jack the Ripper's Whitechapel, London, wet,
Right.
not pleasant at all. Everybody's dirty. Look, so you got dock workers fighting against the meat packers or whatever the hell it was. You've got it, like I said, gangs in New York, fist brawling. This is our turf. I think that's the first line. and they're
Right.
all fighting. Yes, this was going on. Not everywhere in Boston and not all the time. It was building to that. And that's a major point to understand, because that's what bothered the Sons of Liberty. That's what bothered Patrick Henry. This is what bothered John Adams, who was the cousin, as we know now, of Samuel Adams. And it was always Samuel. It wasn't Sam Adams like the beer. It wasn't, people now just say Sam. He's such a cool dude. Samuel. He carried himself like that.
Yes. Proper.
Yes, and that's why when I looked on the beer when it first came out, and I'm trying beers, because listen, I've tried a lot of beers. I'm a bartender. People used to bring beers 20 at a time for me to try to sell at the bar. I'm managing there, so I've had a lot of different beers. So when I finally found one I could drink, because for some reason, we all know I'm envenomized. We all know that the spider venom still reacts to certain things. Like when I ate red M&Ms. Oh my God, I thought I was going to die, because the dye from red M&Ms is made from beetles. Spider venom recognized the beetle protein, and they were having a party, and I was the host.
Yep.
So, and I mean, it really puts you through all kind of stuff. So that's a little nutty, but so I have to watch. So I'm drinking the beers, and certain ones, like I could drink a certain beer, like a Yingling, and for 3 days I'll feel like I drank 8 years out of a 12-year-old bottle of scotch. It
Right.
hits me so bad. I can drink Boston Lager, no problem. I love it. It's fantastic. So that became my beer, and I'm looking through the label, and I'm going, that's not Sam Adams. Sam Adams would never be caught dead with his sleeves rolled up, going like, yay, like this, in a ponytail, no less, with no jacket. I'm like, this is Paul Revere. So I start, researching, and I find out, sure freaking enough, that the Samuel Adams Bottling Company came up with the beer. They already had people, putting money in, starter money. They already had the labels printed. It was supposed to be Revere beer. They needed one more boost of money. And that guy said, I'll give you the money, but I don't like the name. You got to change the name. Revere beer sounds stupid. So he says, okay, well, what do you want to call it? He said, how about Samuel Adams? He said, okay. And they already had most of the labels done. They already had the graphic for it. So they ran with it for like, I don't know how many years, until somebody finally said, this is Paul. A true story. But that story alone tells you that you would not see Sam Adams standing on his head as his opening scene, with everybody standing around him, chug, 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 and they're pouring beer in a beautiful pewter or silver mug that that Paul Revere probably made, and he's got to pick it up with his mouth and chug the beer down, and then he does a backflip. And somebody comes in the front door with the British squadron that's, really not that all hyped up at this point in time in Boston. So again, there's another, let's just throw them in early, and have them really harass the colonial.
Right.
So they're coming in to give Sam Adams a warrant, because he owes $8,000 to the crown, because he is a tax collector. Supposedly the governor gave him this job to stay busy. Bullshit. And he didn't collect the money, and they're insinuating that he stole the money, so they have a warrant for his arrest. He did. That's a true story. However, he didn't steal the money. He just didn't collect it, because he knew these people and they were poor, and he wanted them to feed their families. So he just absorbed it and said, put it on me. You didn't hear that part.
No.
So then you see Sam getting hid by all the people, and he darts out the back, goes up, shimmies up the roof. He's clip-clopping across the top of the rooftops in downtown Boston, Massachusetts. And he's supposed to be a 51-year-old man who wouldn't dare act this way in public. And then the next thing, he's in fistfights and everything else. So here's a little bit. And, right out the gate, you're just like, okay, we're on a ride here. So here we go. Crazy. It's crazy. they look like? That's what he looked like. He really was. He was a hell of a fighter. Great soldier, leader, and a terrific silversmith. That's the best match to me. That's the best. Most accurate. Great actor. This is some of his actual silver work, and that's his steel.
Wow.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, very nice. That's cool.
That's good too. Look at him. It's like, don't mess with him, you know? I love that side of him. Oh, they totally messed up the Boston Tea Party. They made it a brawl, and it was not a brawl.
Yeah.
It was peaceful. It's a lie. It's a
And
lie.
it was Indians throwing the tea over for the most part.
Yeah. You know, to say anything different is lying to history. It really is. It's important what they did. Every
Well,
little bit.
We're
Here we go.
We're here to set them straight.
That match. Pretty good. The costuming was amazing. You know, the visuals were fantastic. I have to give it credit where credit's due, you know. And that's Warren. That's Dr. Joseph Warren, and he was amazing, Son of Liberty. And there you have John Adams, played by, what was he in? I can't remember what he was in, that kid, that actor. Was it Goonies? Maybe it was Goonies. No, it wasn't Goonies. E.T., wasn't it? Phone Home? Was that
Yes.
the
I
kid?
think so. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I knew it was something like that. He's all grown up.
See, I think
And
he's
there's-
good looking. I think
Yeah.
that's
Do
John
you?
Hancock. Yeah. I
John
think he's
Hancock,
handsome.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I loved his character, but it was not John. I don't know who, you know. It's not a bad John Hancock. It's just that they didn't do the things that they had him doing. You know what I mean?
It reminded me of the actor that played Amadeus Mozart.
Yes.
Playing, but in like that kind of role. But you
Now,
know.
this one here, I wanted to stop for a second and say, if you watch this, what Bryan said in the beginning is very much like the Titanic, where what was his name? The one who did the Titanic. I can't remember his damn name. But anyway, he was obsessed with it, and he made it very much so, matching pictures and timing, and the china was the same, whether it was, the third floor, everything was accurate except the that intermingling there of those few characters, like Bryan said, the Rose and the Jack and the Hope, the Diamond of the Ocean and all that shit, Star of the Ocean. There was one of those, and there was a rich girl, but it wasn't the Jack and Rose thing. They did that so they could follow that couple around the ship and tell the story that really went on behind the scenes that actually happened. I love the way they did that. This thing didn't have that. They didn't even have that thick thread through it. They just took some stuff and ran with it. And I think it does a disjustice to a lot of these people's memories, because when else are you going to hear the story? So the story that passed information about, this is kind of important. It's about Lexington and Concord. Well, you remember me telling you about General Gates, right? And how they were portraying him. His wife plays a very big part in this show. Oh man, I just messed it up. So in this, the way they portray her, okay, they have her having an affair with Dr. Warren. There is nothing in history that says anything like, even suggests that, and they really play it up in this, and it didn't happen. And the historical society that handles Dr. Warren's museum and all of his journals and his paper, they got all up in arms about this. If I have a chance, I'll read it to you, because it's a really cheeky letter. And one of the other ones who got it was the woman, General Gates's wife, this lady right here. How went that far? Margaret Kemble Gage. Now, Margaret Kemble, her family was from here in New Jersey. And when Gates was here, fighting for the British in the French and Indian War, and he, did some things and some favors and whatnot and everything, and was hobnobbing with all the local colonists that had money, and her parents happened to be one of those families that he was hobnobbing with. And somehow in the deal, he wound up getting that girl as a prize. She had to go with him. It was like a forced marriage from some agreement from her family. I haven't been able to dig it all up, but this girl has gone through enough. We don't need to drag her, because that right away, whether he was a good guy or not, he's nothing like they portray in Sons of Liberty. That's a total other guy that ran the Jersey prison ship, which is another story. But that was Rao. And he was portrayed in The Patriot as the one that harassed Mel Gibson's family in The Patriot. And again, that guy wasn't like that. So I don't understand why they do this history overlapping stuff, but you're not teaching history. Why are you making the show? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or make up your own story. Just,
Right.
Make up your own story. So this Margaret Gage, like I said, it suggested a romantic affair between her and Joseph Warren. I don't believe it ever happened. Neither does people that really know what they're talking about, which is largely speculative and not supported by strong historical evidence or fact. So the next thing that they changed with her, she's going through all this like overbearing husband, and she's fighting to get away. I think what they're really portraying there is the fact that she never wanted to be with him in the first place. Now she's back in the colonies, which is her home. Okay. She's in Boston, which isn't too far from Jersey. She knows people's names that are being said, and it's familiar to her. But I think she was always a patriot at heart. When she saw what was going on, she didn't like it. And she was always trying to help out. Like, after somebody got hurt, whatever, can you not get him some help? He's a soldier, and look, you have to be humane. She was always fighting for the humaneness. She did an awful lot to helping orphans and widows. She was part of smuggling people out of dangerous situations and getting them, out and away. And she doesn't get any of that credit. She also doesn't get credit for this. And this I happen to believe because I've read some other stuff about her. The story that she passed information to Dr. Joseph Warren, which is portrayed in this show, about the British plans to seize ammunition in Lexington and Concord is a fascinating one. This information is believed to have sparked Paul Revere's famous ride, because, one is by land, two is by sea, and the evidence supporting this claim is largely circumstantial and speculative. I wanted to say that, but the more I dig, the more I believe that it probably happened. She was actually caught listening in when some of this stuff was said, which made it, I think, possible for her husband to say, was this you? And they really accentuate it in this show, but I don't believe they show it till like around the second episode, I believe.
Something
So had you
important.
guys ever heard of her before or
Yes,
known this?
and
Yes.
something it's overlooked in the revolution. It's all focused on the men,
Yes,
but
yes,
there
true.
were significant roles of women throughout
So
the
many.
revolution,
So many.
and them literally, if you want to call it spying or providing really valuable information
Yep.
to the
We're going to
players.
be hitting that in this
Yeah.
when we do the Culper Spiring coming up when we're doing Turn. That's
Yeah.
our next thing. We get to do Turn. There's 3 seasons of Turn, so we're going to watch like whole seasons and come back and talk about that, and then the next and the next. We'll do it in like 3 or 4 shows. But that's where we're really going to get down and dirty with the spies and
Yep.
and literally George Washington was the first master spy ring. I mean, it's just fascinating stuff. And
Yep.
and everybody's missing it all because you go to school. I don't even think they're teaching much of this in school anymore. They just
They don't
breeze
teach
through it on a
anything.
No,
Monday or
they're
some
not.
shit. They're not, are they? I didn't think
No.
so. Isn't
No.
that sad? That's why you can use this show, guys. You can use this
Well,
show. But she
there's-
deserves. You
Right.
deserve to know her name. And this is the actress that portrayed her, and this is Gage. And of course, he's just acting like a horrid fool, with his throwing his weight around and his power and destroying lives and taking away homes. That he did do, because quartering was actual. And that was a terrible thing for people to have to take in soldiers and things, and they didn't like. And this is the actual Gage. And there's a better close-up of him together. He did a wonderful job. It's a fantastic actor.
That was
He's just
great,
yeah, he did great. And this is the other his first in command, and they made him a little devil. Now I put this in because they do this great scene in Sons of Liberty where John Hancock is trying to get with this new governor in place, which is Gage. And again, he wasn't even here at this time, but we'll move past that. But when they did come in and they were taking over, and this was primarily after the Boston Tea Party, because that's when the king said, all right, we got to tighten stuff up, send more men, let's get that tightened up. We got to get them, those rowdy colonists back into line. And they did go in and confiscate an awful lot of homes, and they did confiscate John Hancock's home. And that's what's happening here. Gage is just cheeky, kind of listening to him, like trying to bribe him with his smuggling stuff and trying to get the same deal he had before, because he doesn't want to pay taxes. He won't make any money. And he's describing things in his home, and Gage just looks at him and says, "This will do. You can leave now." And he just gets his men to push him out in the street. And that didn't happen. It was confiscated when he wasn't there, but it still stung, I'm sure. So that's what's going on here. That did happen.
Hence the John Hancock signature, by the way.
Yes, that's why it was so big. So
that was a big old FU to everybody.
That was true. He did
Yep.
say that. So King Charles could read it without his spectacles. That did happen. So I'm going to read this one to you. It would be a grave disservice to distort the truth about the legends who sacrificed so much for the birth of this country. Their story should be told correct. We should be striving to get it right. Their devotion encompassing their lifetimes, fortunes, businesses, families, and in many cases their lives should not be embellished or changed. It is of utmost importance to the present historical facts as they are, to present the historical facts as they are, ensuring that their contributions are honored with the integrity they deserve. That's me. I said that.
Amen to that.
There
Amen.
you go. But they still did a wonderful job on this. I highly recommend watching it, but going in with the knowledge that you are watching a wonderful idea of what it may have been like in some other world, because just like John Adams said, facts are stubborn things, and whatever may be our wishes, our inclinations, or the dictates of our passions. They cannot alter the state of facts and evidence. John Adams. Go ahead.
So something very interesting, and first of all, it's really is enjoyable as an entertainment factor.
Yes.
Okay, so you're gonna enjoy it. It's a really nice series, and that's a given. But it's what this reminded me of is when you get into the story of Wyatt Earp and the OK Corral. Okay, and you know.
Yeah.
There's Tombstone and then there's Wyatt Earp, right?
Yeah.
Kevin Costner's Wyatt Earp, which is like Cameron is the name of the guy that Titanic, James Cameron. You know,
James Cameron, there you go.
Yeah, Kevin Costner did that like 9-hour
So pretty.
whatever.
Oh yeah.
But when you get into it, and someone we know, Rimmel, will tell you straight up, and you know, there's a couple
Did
of
you do
movies
some research? Yeah.
Well, he does research.
Oh yeah.
You know, Wyatt Earp, you know, the Tombstone version of it is actually it's almost
very
exactly accurate.
Yep.
And another thing is
one.
Right. So if you get into, I forgot the one with Emilio Estevez,
Young Guns?
The Kid, Young Guns.
Young Guns, Young Guns 2.
Right.
I'll make you
Young
famous.
Guns, I'll make you famous.
Make you famous.
Young Guns is also, it seems like, you know, a Rat Pack type of thing, or Brat Pack, but it actually is a lot more accurate than most other movies of that time. Unfortunately, this series isn't as accurate at all, but it is entertaining, and hopefully it spurs you to go out and say, I want to read more about the Sons of Liberty.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
I agree.
You too, sweetie? You think so too?
Yeah, I agree. As Cisco had previously mentioned, like about the Liberty thing, where they were actually reading content from letters that were actually written by different people. You know, that was so much more accurate than this is. But again, they want to make money and they do want people to watch it. So, but it's a good thing that we're doing this and putting it into perspective and correcting.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and that's my main goal here is to, give people a little bit of a basis to, maybe even bring up stuff that I thought was, I was surprised by a lot of the stuff too. So I've got a couple of short little videos here because we usually feature our favorite, person or thing or object, like last weekend I had the Constitution and because I felt like that was almost its own entity and a living thing. And then, some others I've done George Washington and, we've done Mrs. Washington, all that. And tonight we're kind of featuring a little bit more of Ben Franklin and a little bit of a place that I felt like it almost became its own person too. And that's the Green Dragon. And I feel it is very important to point this out, is because if you remember not too long ago, there was something that happened where you were told that they didn't want you to gather together to talk. They didn't want you to talk. They didn't want you to communicate. They didn't want you to hash things out and meet at the water cooler and, these kind of things. It's very important to understand that that's exactly what happened, because this is what happens when people gather under the elm tree and have discussions, meaningful discussions about their situation and what can we do. And one of the places they met was a place called the Green Dragon. And we've mentioned it often here because I just think it's so neat. But here's the deal. The real Green Dragon does not exist anymore. So it's very much like if you went to London, if you did the Charles Dickens tour, and you go in and you go, wow, I went and shopped at the Curiosity Shop. No, you didn't, honey. First of all, it never existed to begin with. And there's two of them, and neither one of them are the ones that Dickens wrote about because he made it up. And you have people embellishing on your love for a story, and that's great if you know that. But if you're sitting in the Green Dragon right now having a beer and go, wow, Sam Adams sat here. No, he didn't.
No.
But I'll tell you something. If you turn your stool around and you look out the front door and you look at the bar on the corner, it's called the Bell in Hand. He sat in there.
Yep.
He sat in there. So if you know your real history, and not only did he sit there, he still sits there because his ghost has been seen. Samuel Adams' ghost has been seen at the Bell in Hand. And I have a little on that for you. So right now we're going to go ahead and take a quick trip to the Green Dragon so you can see a little bit of what it looks like now and how they've rebuilt it and how it looked where it sat and a little bit about that just so you can get a little bit of that history on there. Okay, here we go. I'm going to get some hot water too, guys. I'll be right back.
Okay.
And you know, if you guys need to grab a cookie or something, do it. Go.
I'm Brooke from Boston's History in a Minute, and today I'm in one of Boston's oldest and most famous taverns, the Green Dragon. The Green Dragon was originally founded in the 1660s on Union Street, not far from its current location. This tavern was a favorite hangout for rebel colonists, including Paul Revere. They frequently met here to discuss what to do about British policy, including a plan for what to do about the Tea Act and the importance of monitoring redcoats after the coercive acts were passed. This was such a hangout for rebels that British officials called the Green Dragon a nest of treason.
That's true.
The Green Dragon got its name from a copper dragon sculpture that extended out from the front of the tavern. In the salty ocean air of Boston, this copper dragon oxidized and turned green.
That's true.
They couldn't keep it polished fast enough, so it simply became known as the Green Dragon. See you soon for more of Boston's past.
Isn't that fabulous? Okay, see, now everything she said was correct, except for the fact that that's where it was, because it wasn't.
So
and they tell you it wasn't there, and then they proceed. They're so used to lying to you, they just proceed to say, "And this is where he had his." No, it is. It's down a little further down the road. But you get my point, right?
Right.
Go ahead.
It gets into the point. Like if you want to go see the London Bridge,
yeah,
don't go to London. Go to Arizona.
Arizona.
The original bridge is now in Arizona. But there's a very big importance to these taverns and the Green Dragon and other taverns throughout the colonies. This is, they are the meeting places. This is where Freemasons would meet, and they'd have meetings. This is the first lodges in there.
I almost pulled up that video, Bryan, but about how much the Freemasons had to do with it and the compass and everything on the door. But as soon as I started looking at all this Freemason, this YouTube stuff started popping up.
Right. You start getting into a rabbit hole that really isn't a rabbit hole. And I don't have to correct people. If you want to know and go join one. It's really simple. But the importance of this gathering is, these are very highbrow people, as well as the commoners would all meet there. That's why, we all have an inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, because we're all equal.
Right.
No matter.
But they don't want you sitting down at the. They don't want you sitting down in the pub talking about it. But this guy here, he's going to take. He does a great job. So over there at the Astute Tourist, he did a wonderful, wonderful job. He's got 642 views from a year ago. So go over there and give him a thumbs up, because he really did a great job. And I love people that are local. They go on and they really take this much pride in putting together a video and getting you the truth. And I think it's absolutely worth the watch. It's about 2 minutes and 35 seconds. So here we go, guys.
You're Astute Tourist, and this is a Revolutionary Minute.
Darn it.
Tucked away on Union Street, the Green Dragon Tavern was more than just a place to grab a drink. It was a hotbed of revolutionary fervor, a meeting place where patriots gathered to discuss the ideas that would shape a nation. In the late 18th century, this historic establishment became a hub for some of the brightest minds of the Revolution. Samuel Adams, Paul Revere, and other key figures would frequent the tavern, hatching plans, rallying support, and fanning the flames of independence. Located near the waterfront, close to the Boston Harbor, the Green Dragon Tavern played a vital role in coordinating the Sons of Liberty's efforts to resist British rule. This humble establishment became a crucial center of intelligence gathering, exchanging news, and secrets in the fight for liberty. The walls of the Green Dragon Tavern witnessed heated debates, passionate speeches, and intricate strategies being crafted. It was here that the spark of the revolution burned brightest, as ordinary citizens and influential leaders strategized for a future free from tyranny. The Green Dragon Tavern, its very existence, was a symbol of resistance, a place where ideas took shape and the spirit of freedom thrived. This humble building left an indelible mark on the course of history, forever etching itself into the legacy of the American Revolution. So next time you stroll through the historic streets of Boston, take a moment to reflect on the rich history housed within the walls of the Green Dragon Tavern, a place where ideas flourished and a nation was born. Thank you for joining us for this episode of A Revolutionary Minute. Stay tuned for more intriguing stories from the era that shaped America. And remember, history is only a minute away. Don't
Speaking of tyranny, we're kind of talking
How about that? Go ahead, honey.
So talk about the pendulum swinging full circle. I'm just saying,
When it goes up, honey, and when it lets go, oof. I mean, it's the way it always has,
I mean, yeah.
The only thing you can do is just not get hit with it.
Well, that's true, but I'm just talking about I can't say it on FluffTube, so that I don't
Right.
want us to get docked. But our ability to communicate and to congregate, and which we all do through computer now, has definitely been
Compromised.
Compromised, exactly.
Right. But look at us. Look at us doing it right now. We're sitting here talking about it. So
Woohoo!
we're doing the same thing they did. We're meeting at the Green Dragon tonight. And we're meeting
That's
at the
right.
Green Dragon. Okay, I think I got one more on the Green Dragon. Isn't it interesting to hear about the place? Because
Yeah.
within these little local news, whatever it might be, or little tourist thing, whatever, you're hearing so much stuff you don't get other places. I heard something today and I just went, what? I had a puzzle piece snap. I don't care if you're doing 50 years or whatever. There's always those little puzzle pieces where you meet that little new thing. And it's so exciting to me. So here's another one. This is, I think I got it right. I've got so many surprises for you guys tonight. This is going to be fun. Because I couldn't do what, like show you the whole episode of Liberty. We couldn't watch it together, which is why I'm trying to get my Rumble channel together. So again, I got Bowden with me. He's going to try to help me. And anybody else out there, I don't know where Kat is tonight. I sent her some links and stuff. And I hope she's okay and doesn't have migraine. But because usually she's here just zapping, stuff up like crazy. Anyhow, let's just watch this one. Let me get this one down right. I think it's this one. Is it Austria? Nope, that's not it. It's got to be this one. Okay, here we go. Oh. Wrong button, guys. Put your seatbelts on. It's going to get bumpy. Woo-hoo. Here we are. All right.
Fun ride.
Yep, I think it's this one. Yep, I think it's this one. Okay, let's give it a try. Whatever it is, we're going to watch it. 30 seconds.
You're not talking about defending your rights.
Oh, here it is. I love this.
You're talking about a new country, a new nation.
Move! These are our streets!
We need more guns. It has to end now. You show them what we're made of.
The Brits are coming! The Brits are coming!
This is just the beginning.
Now, that's to give you an idea how they marketed it. Now, why wouldn't you watch it? Right?
Right.
And I'm not saying not watch it. I'm saying it's wonderful. But, you've got all that coming at you and all this stuff going on. Again, it's very much like, Jim Morris said about 11/22/63. Now everybody's going to see it and think Oswald did it by himself again, and there was a magic bullet, for Pete's sake. And time travel, which again, I think is more possible that Oswald did it by himself, to tell you the truth. How about you guys? All right.
Well, about that.
Yeah. Okay. This one. That one's interesting. All right. Let's go this way.
While she's looking, I have to tell everybody I got to meet Bryan Bowden, and he is one big mamma jamma.
Big man pajama.
Yeah.
Oops. Sorry, I didn't mean to start that. Are you done? I didn't mean to hit it.
Definitely tall fella.
There you go. All right.
Well, thank you.
So, can you imagine how you'd felt if 50 years from now somebody portrays you as a midget? You wouldn't like it, would you? Because it's not you. That's what we're talking about.
No.
So here's another clip. Go ahead, sweetie.
He was definitely my hero. He saved the day for me. I'm telling you, at the bash. I don't know what I would have done if he had not
It
helped
is
me.
wonderful.
I would still be there now trying to disassemble
Try
that stupid
to
thing that he managed to shove into my back seat.
My
And
pleasure.
and
Once
Brian,
you do it a
I
couple
hit a
times,
deer
you
on
get
the
it
way
down.
home in Virginia. By the way,
I heard, and I'm sorry about that.
yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
All right. So let's see what we got here. This is another clip from there. I think I started. That was the end. Okay, that was your. Believe me, the Parliament. It was not like that. Okay, here's the next one. Yep. All right, let me save that one. There's your portrayal of Washington. I believe Washington had a lot of that in him. You know, that whole holding that, the anger, and I think this is where this actor was going with it. He was extremely quiet in Congress, and he only said a few profound things, but I felt that they were probably given like that, but a little quieter. What do you guys think?
Yeah, but he was a monumental man. Even his stature and his height was just impressive. I mean, he could definitely hold his presence in a room. He didn't need to say much.
That's
true.
He was actually one of my favorites because the reason why Washington was the way he was is because he was always trying to live up to that status or the elite that he convorted with, and he didn't have the money. He married money. That's how he got his farm. That's how he got his plantation, his distillery. So he had to show, what he did have was, pardon the expression, balls. And he put them out there. He didn't like to lose his cool, but at the times when he needed it, he really did put it forward saying, we need this now. And he didn't take no for an answer. And let me tell you something, we were this close to not being the United States of America.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We were really close. And there's, something interesting about Washington too is the story of him being in his tent and having a visitor come to him.
Yes.
Which may have been divine.
Yes.
Time traveler telling him.
Yep.
What he needs to do. And that's a crucial element. I mean, this is somebody, without him, everybody's important, but he's the one that's leading the charge.
If he had quit, everything would have went behind him, and he felt that way in every battle. He was a master at strategy and deception. He is the epitome of we who have done so much with so little. For so long. I mean, it's one of those, they had no food, we know the deal, Valley Forge and the whole thing. And, and I'm the dummy who's sitting there thinking, why didn't they just go more south? They knew about it. They knew that but he couldn't, guys. I mean, everything is, you have to see it from their vantage point of, he had to stay close to New York because, if every time the British moved, he had to, the whole shebang. It's so easy to be, armchair quarterback. You know what I mean?
Let me tell you, if he did not take the moves he did in Valley Forge.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
If he did not take all those soldiers who were just like, okay, we're done,
Yep.
That move, that capture really was a turning point in this whole entire fight.
Absolutely.
All you got to do is give people that are that desperate, that are willing to put everything on the line, one win, and that's all that matters.
That's all. And so much of the, the defecting and the no food and the horrible conditions and the smallpox and the, dysentery. Like I said it on the show before. It's all fun and games till somebody gets dysentery. It stops everything. I mean, it's just the way it is. And these people are marching on this in bare feet. We all have heard the bloody footprints in the snow. Are you a winter soldier or a summer soldier? They've all left. It's the winter soldiers that stayed and fought. And I think at this point, we've been through so much our own selves or our own awakening or whatever you want to call it, the conscious raising, the shifting, the stand, whatever, that we are to that point where we know we're winter soldiers. We're still here. still have most of our wits about us, and we're trying to sort things that are going on around us, just like these people were 248 years ago. And if they didn't sort it, we wouldn't be here. We might be here, but we might be speaking a different language or under a different condition or whatever. It would definitely been different. Definitely been different. So here's another shorty. This one's 5 minutes. We're right on time here. And then I have a little surprise for you too. And we're going to finish up with what I think is, out of the whole series of and again, there's so many good things in here, as long as you know what you're going in for and you don't get swayed by, I know quite a bit about this. Like I said, I'm not a historian, I'm not a scholar in any way, but the whole time my fight was, wait a minute, that happened, but not at that time and not with him. And who is she? And I'm just losing my stuff, but I still enjoyed it because I love that, because I'm weird. But if you're showing it to kids and they're thinking, you have to sit with them and kind of talk them through it. I think that it could be a good learning tool as well, guys. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because you can stop it. You can stop it and say, hey, we're about to hit a great scene, but this never happened. Samuel Adams never beat anybody in the street. He didn't hit there's another scene where he takes a club. Now, this should be, if Samuel Adams is alive, he can get him for defamation and
Well, this is how it starts, right? So it started with this type of stuff. Hollywood writers embellishment. But we have this right now. We have, them just taking movies and making them DEI based.
Of course.
And changing.
They were probably doing this. The Pentagon has a fund, folks, if you didn't realize it. Yeah. And you can look it up yourself and you can see all the Pentagon movies that they put out there, and it'll give you a whole list of the ones that they funded and the ones that they approved before they release. And that's not the only people that do it. And, it's other 3-letter agencies working with that and going through stuff. And, we've all had shows where we've said certain things. If you're seeing it in a movie, they've been using it for 15 years.
Yeah.
Just so you know, AI has been out there since 2010, and it's been very active. And you didn't even know it. What do you think? Why do you think when you say, gosh, I could use some cat food, you go in and take a shower and you come out and there's a cat food commercial on your phone, or you're getting coupons in your email? AI has been working for a very long time. It's just really getting momentum right now. So the Pentagon makes movies, honey.
I had an actual AI assistant on computer, probably about 2006.
See, there you go. Which
is kind of cool, but weird.
What are they doing now behind closed doors that we don't know about?
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Here's another quickie. This one's 5 minutes. Very informative. I like this one. And then I've got another little surprise for you. Oop, let me get the sound. I hope you guys can hear this. Here we go.
It's a rare remnant of colonial Boston. The narrow alleys of the Blackstone block date back to the 17th century, and the establishments that line these streets celebrate their history.
Good visuals.
On the northwest corner, you find Boston's oldest restaurant. Its neighbor, America's oldest continuously running tavern.
Jimmy Wilson was the last town crier for the city of Boston.
I love this bar, and this is the one that Sam has been seen in.
After he put down his bell and went behind the bar and started to tell his tale back then.
Back then, a wood carving like this was the only sign.
It hung outside. There was no text.
Debbie Kessler and her husband Adam are the current owners, the caretakers of the Bell in Hand's storied past.
People from all over the world, all over the states, come to the Bell in Hand. It's a true meeting place.
That was also true hundreds of years ago. It's been said Daniel Webster, Paul Revere, and Sam Adams were frequent customers. Full disclosure, they didn't stand in this exact spot.
This bar has moved from location to location.
The original Bell in Hand was just about where City Hall sits now. The tavern also famously flourished in Pie Alley off Washington Street.
Pie Alley was kind of the newspaper row, and it was called Pie Alley because people used to throw their linotype out the window.
Pied type is jargon for loose type, and the history of the Bell in Hand is a little loose too, but just for a few years.
The only time in history we were closed was during Prohibition.
Right.
Yes, and who knows then?
Debbie's grandfather took ownership in the 1950s. Since then, her family has worked to preserve its rich history. A local artist is responsible for the portraits that line the walls.
He did copies of the National Gallery paintings and basically added something new to each one.
We didn't have a portrait of Jimmy Wilson, the founder of the Bell in Hand, so we dubbed in my father.
I see the
instead.
resemblance.
Yes.
The Kesslers credit the welcome feel of the tavern, their service for their incredible longevity.
I think it's heart. The whole place has a heart.
The fresh New England fare can't hurt either. The most popular menu item is the clam chowder. Piles of fish and chips and overflowing lobster rolls are favorites too. As for the drinks, the strongest Jimmy Wilson would serve was a cream ale when he opened Bell in Hand. He refused to sell spirits. Sam Adams now makes a special variety of ale just for the tavern.
The reason for the 2 mugs, if you were at Bell in Hand in 1795, you'd be served in 2 pewter mugs just like this, one for the froth and one for the ale. I'm not sure how you drink both, so we'll stick with one.
But why stick to just one tavern when another only steps away also has some pretty great bragging rights? Welcome to the headquarters of the American Revolution, the Green Dragon, founded in 1654, way before Bell in Hand. The catch is the original Green Dragon burned down several times. It was reborn 25 years ago thanks to John Summers. Noel and Sean Summers say their father loved the history of the tavern, named for the weathered bronze dragon out front.
It's where the Sons of Liberty met to plot the American Revolution. Sam Adams, Daniel Webster, all the heavy hitters.
Back then, times were so tense, the pewter mugs here had glass bottoms.
You wanted to have eyes on people at all times.
And ears on them, too. It said a 13-year-old bar boy overheard British soldiers talking about troop movements at the Green Dragon, and it was those loose lips that sent Paul Revere on his famous ride before the battles of Lexington and Concord.
There wouldn't be an America if there wasn't a Green Dragon.
Certain items on the menu pay tribute to the history here. There's a shepherd's pie and a bubble and squeak, the early American answer for leftovers.
They would fry it up, and it was called bubble and squeak because of the noises it would make. And so we have our own take. It's a potato pancake with corned beef, cabbage, carrots, and cheese.
No battles brewing anymore. Customers can just enjoy the fare and the revolutionary flavor of the space. The Summers say their goal is to provide warmth and respite.
My father's ambition always was to give hospitality to the weary travelers. And that's really what it comes down to. When you come to Boston, whether you're a tourist or whether you live here, that you're welcomed and feel good when you're sitting in here and leave with a smile.
It's great. And back to Bell in Hand, it has really evolved over the years. And the Kesslers say there is a real sense of community.
Countless couples have gotten married after meeting at the tavern, which is nice. By the way,
and standing in the middle of it and say, we got married where Sam Adams and no, you got married in a place named after the place that they met. So, and that's it too. I think it's really important because here's the thing, I think, and maybe I'm the only schmuck who feels this way. I don't know. But if I walk into a place, it's a different thing where you walk in and you really know that something happened there. You really know that the people did sleep in that room. They looked at that doorway, that wood was in the same spot. They walked on that floor. It's a whole different deal. Now it's a little different to me when they move it's the same house, but they moved it, which is
that's totally different.
That one case with the Bell in Hand, that's what they did with that. They kept moving it. They actually disassembled whatever they did to move it. Okay. The Green Dragon is a totally different place. Burnt to the ground. There was no Green Dragon for about 100 years. And now here's this guy close to it. As close to it as they could get it. But then there's the difference where you're told, like the White House, there's like maybe 1-2 rooms that are original there. You walk through and you think, oh gosh, Lincoln sat here and ate his, cornflakes. No, honey, he didn't.
No. Well,
it's a difference. It means something.
So this rubs me the wrong way, and it bothers me just as much. And I'll tell you, where I grew up in the Bronx, there's a park. There's 2 parks, and if you go to the northernmost park, I used to pass it every day walking to school. We didn't have buses; we walked to school. There used to be an old foundation there, and we used to pass like there was a house there. We didn't really pay attention as kids, but someone decided to put a plaque up against the fence where the park ended and this property was. And that was George Washington's Fort Number 1. And now there is a nursing home that's extension built on it. And I got to be honest, I'm horrified that they would allow that. This isn't like, no offense to Woodstock or some, whatever. This is why we are who we are. And for you not to preserve it and keep a fence around it and say, no, you can build up to a certain point, but yeah.
Don't touch it. These little bastards coming through burning stuff down because they don't care about anything. Hey, yo, my grandkid wants to see that. My grandkid wants to stand in front of Lincoln and look up and remember the things that he did. Not perfect. You dig up all kinds of stuff. We can talk all day. I know we sent troops out there after the Civil War to get rid of the Indians. I know all this. It's history. Put it on the front porch. Let's talk about it. Keep an eye on it.
And
put it in a closet because you know what's going to happen when you least expect it. It's going to crawl out from that closet. It's going to be cranky. It's going to have mold all over it. Some nasty long ass teeth needing a haircut, and it's going to come out and bite you in the ass because you tried to ignore it. You didn't learn from your lesson. You didn't learn from what you did wrong. And again, I'm sick and tired of people talking about, well, nobody did nothing about, slavery and this and everything else. Everybody who was poor. You heard last week, they said at one point in time, I think Boston was 65%. I could be wrong. Could have been all the colonies, but I wanted to just say Boston because I was pretty sure. Was 65% slave. Some were indentured servants. We keep forgetting an indentured. Do you consider that slavery, folks? Here's an 8-year-old kid. They put a shilling in one pocket, maybe if you're lucky, a kiss on your forehead and a potato in the other pocket, and shove you on a ship for 6 weeks. Now you're a deck boy because all of a sudden you're taking orders from Snidely Whiplash and his and his toothless crew of old basically pirates running slave ships or what other kind of stuff going on, and they own you 15 years. If that isn't slavery, I don't know what is.
That there's a lot of stuff about history. I love it, and I some things I collect. I have old manuscripts. I have manuscripts from 1464, on vellum, and they're Spanish manuscripts or Portuguese. But like right down in my neighborhood and where I grew up, there's a park called Van Cortlandt Park, and we used to hang out in the woods and drink beer there because that's what you do when you're kids in a city. And a couple of kids went in the woods, and someone came out with a British saber. They found. I mean, like, do you understand?
World War II from Japan. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No.
And the medal and the try. Yeah.
This is a Revolutionary War officer's saber. He just found it.
Incredible.
And this is
how long?
This is important history. If you lose your history, we've got nothing. They're doing that right now.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's so important too. I keep talking to all my friends, like Brian's talking, and Lynn and I have had this conversation. Jim Wyrick, Dave Haney. I can keep going. Michael Simpson, all lovely people. The Berries, the list goes on.
Yeah.
How important it is to history and the paranormal. How important it is to preserve history. How important it is when you go to Gettysburg, the awe that strikes you. Antietam, any of this, Harper's Valley, and it's all surrounded there, and you can feel it, and it's the trees remember, the ground remember. It's absolutely mind-boggling, and to allow something to be destroyed or otherwise that has that kind of history on it, that has been that thoroughly paid for by the last full measure of devotion of thousands upon thousands upon thousands of, I could keep going. Do you get my point? And that to me, I almost absolutely pull it back because I was just going to say I absolutely almost lost it about 2 weeks ago on a guy who was trying to say that First Amendment also included burning something that looks very much like the shirt you're wearing. And I said, be very careful here, tread lightly, because this is a very
Unfortunately,
and I'm throwing it. It's not. It's not. It's an act, and it's vandalism, and it's totally different. And I'll tell you why.
right.
So many people have died keeping
this.
that off the ground, from touching the ground. I
Yep.
could give you heartbreaking stories. There's a gentleman in the Civil War that got shot 6 times, drug his butt across no man's land in the middle till he got back to his people, to his side, and handed the flag over, and then and only then did he die and pass away. Because of people like that, you don't want to do that in front of me. And I've got thousands that would stand in front of me, because here's the thing. You have free speech to say, I don't like what you're doing. I don't think you should do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to say this. But you cannot yell fire in a crowded theater. There are limits to that.
Right.
If you're causing harm or you're doing something else, what you're actually doing is you're spitting on the thing that is actually the symbol of the ground you're standing on. It's not perfect. This is my opinion, but I guarantee you I got thousands behind me when I say this. To me, it is not free speech. It is vandalism, and it has been made a law for a very long time.
Let me tell you, the most important thing that is American, that is the first thing you see anywhere in the world we've been, is this flag.
Yep. And the people that we're talking about too. Now, listen, I speak as someone who has bloodlines in Native American and Scottish. Both sides have got their stories and got their tales and their fights for freedom and everything else. And the travesties and the genocide across the board. We all do. But if you dig back further, you'll find out that we're more alike than we're different. And the thing is when you come here, the rules are very lenient, but there are rules, and you're supposed to assimilate into it because you appreciate what all these people fought for. We've studied, I don't know how many episodes now, and talked about all the foreign people that came over and said, we don't have a chance over here. I really believe in what's going on over here. Everybody gets to be free. Little pockets of Quakers over here, and your Puritans over here, and your full-blown whatever's over there, and everybody just commingles and leaves each other alone. And the only time we have a problem is when those two people clash, like the Hatfields and McCoy, and say, wait a minute, your peanut butter got into my chocolate. And that's when you have a problem. And I have a problem if you're going to come over here and try to burn my peanut butter, and you're going to melt my peanut butter, I had a problem. So let's watch this real quick, and I'll tell you why I'm showing you this. There is a little blip just for a moment, and I tried to find a better one, of the Liberty Tree. It's actually a little preserved piece of the Liberty Tree, and we all know the great elm that stood in Boston Common, where it was actually the first Congressional Congress that started to meet, with the Sons of Liberty started moving into their higher roles as statesmen, really, and communicators and peacemakers and rabble rousers and propagandists and people that were honestly trying to get together and having meetings about the other things going on that needed to be taken care of, like slavery and everything else. And if you really dig, you'll hear things about the arguments that went on, and Britain wouldn't let them do it early. There's so much there. So if you're really interested in it, dig, find out the truth, and then sort it. How it fits in your world, okay? But for right now, here's a couple things. Go ahead, Lynn.
I was going to say, speaking of laws, last time that we were on the show, you had made mention of that new law in Gettysburg area where you can't mention the word, was it haunted?
Pretty much ghost. No, that it wasn't quite as that bad, but it's darn close. You cannot do any paranormal investigation on the actual nationally owned battlefield park. And I would say that pretty much begins and ends where they say it does, as far as what they own. In town, they still have it all around, and there's plenty of it. But on there, you can't bring equipment. And from the way Jim, and I quote, Wyrick said to me, you cannot even tell a ghost story, like, say, a Devil's Den, and take out phones, record anything like this, and it's a $10,000 fine. That's the best of my knowledge. Go ahead.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Right.
Yeah. Well, I wonder how that's going to affect the Gettysburg Bash next year, because a lot of people come and they do all the.
Well, there's still plenty. Oh my gosh, that whole place is a battlefield. It's only
Right,
what they
exactly.
own. It's only the battle. It's only the park part,
Okay.
and the cemetery in the park. It'll be like Green Cemetery and the National Cemetery, which is closed anyway after dark. And now it's like, I don't know. I guess it's all day, and I don't know if the cemetery is included, but the battlefield, the where Little Round Top is, and yeah, it sucks, and I don't know how they'll ever uphold such a thing, but maybe they just get the obvious. Maybe they're just doing it to deter people. I don't know.
Well,
And,
I mean,
but
it's
then
a
again,
battlefield. It's a
yeah.
battlefield, and you should respect the people that died there.
This is true too. Maybe that's the approach they're taking. I don't know.
Yeah,
but let's watch this one real quick. It's 4 minutes. I'm gonna grab some more hot water. I need some sugar too. So if anybody wants to grab something.
A battle-used saber, a piece of Maryland's Liberty Tree, the first newspaper publication of the Declaration of Independence, and even a pair of baby shoes.
Look at that.
Made from the red coat of a defeated British soldier. Those are just some of the items on display at the Museum of the American Revolution, opening this week in Philadelphia, just steps away from the Liberty Bell and Independence Hall.
How about that? They didn't have one that went from one end to the other.
This month, workers put the finishing touches on the Museum of the American Revolution. It took them 8 hours to hang this painting of George Washington at the end of the war. And it's taken them more than a decade to get to this point.
Well, if you come down here.
In 2012, collection director Scott Stevenson gave me a preview of some of the items that will go on display.
This is a British musket?
A musket used in the Battle of Lexington and Concord, the first action in the War of Independence.
It would have had a strap.
A soldier's canteen, one of only 3 known to have survived.
You can see
it says U states.
U states. If you think about it, at this point, the United States is still just an idea.
Right. For years, the 3,000 items in this collection have been looking for a permanent home. They'll finally have one. Amazingly, it'll be the first national museum to tell the entire story of the American Revolution.
It's been a long time coming, but I'm glad it's here.
Brown University professor Gordon Wood is a scholar of the Revolution.
There have been museums for almost every conceivable event in American history or person in American history, but not for the American Revolution, which is extraordinary when you think of the Revolution as the most important event in our history.
The museum's collection will include this letter, written in Washington's own hand, celebrating the French joining the cause.
Look at that. Look at that.
That's a pretty exciting...
That's a nice thing to have arrive.
And this document. This isn't the original, is it?
This is the original.
This is the
Printed
original?
in the spring of 1775.
An enlistment form for recruits to an uprising. And enlist
Look at
ourselves as soldiers in the Massachusetts service for the preservation of the liberties of America. This is the beginning of the Army.
This is it.
The carvings on a soldier's powder horn show the stakes were high. Kill or be killed.
And
liberty or death. The museum will also feature the faces of the
Look at this.
revolution.
Look at this.
Pictures taken of Revolutionary War veterans during the earliest days of photography. Some of these former soldiers were more than 100 years old when they posed for
Look at
these
this.
pictures.
Amazing.
Is this the prize of the collection, really?
I think it would be hard to top this one, that's for sure.
The 20-foot piece of canvas was General Washington's home during the war. This is his actual
We
tent.
saw
This is
that
it.
last
This is
week.
the roof under which he spent at least half of
That's
the
it.
American Revolution. Personally, I think it's chilling to think about the emotions that were
Look at that. Isn't that
felt underneath
amazing?
this
But,
canvas.
right?
Now, out of storage, the tent is up again.
I love
this time, not on the
Yeah.
fields of Valley Forge, but behind
That
a
was
layer
his
of thick
tent.
protective glass. Washington's victories led to the birth of a nation.
To be an American is to not be somebody, but to believe in something. And the things we believe in came out of that revolution.
The story is written in this collection. Artifacts of an act of defiance that would literally change the world.
Mark, which is the first company.
And the museum opens on April 19th. That's the 242nd anniversary of the battles of Lexington and Concord, the first confrontations of the Revolutionary War. So far, more than 30,000 tickets have been sold to the museum. Very exciting.
I so love this stuff. And two things that I've always wanted in my life is a George Washington inauguration button. And I literally was very close at one point. I found an auction for his signature. It's a round, it's like almost pewter looking.
It's the inauguration button. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
they didn't even know what they were doing, but it's the first time.
First time. And then I'd love to have his signature. Something he signed. I don't know.
Wow. Okay. Here we go. Let's pull this up. Let me get a good one here. This one's beautiful.
It's a really cool little item to have.
Oh gosh, I'm pushing buttons, guys. Cross your fingers and your toes and your little webbed feet.
Yeah, just share the
right
screen.
One. I'm really trying, dude.
Put it to a new tab.
No, wait. I want to do the right one. I don't want to blow the surprise, which is why. Okay, so here it is right here. Can you see it? Yep. Look at that, guys. Is that not something? Maybe I can make
I'd love one of those.
Wow. Look at that. Man, just imagine. This is a time, the Paul Revere, and I guarantee you he was in on this. I showed a bunch of his silver and the intricate work he did as a silversmith. That's incredible. It's really cool.
They replicated a Freemason ring that Paul Revere created. There's a company that does Paul Revere replicas out of silver and gold.
I actually held a set of his knives in my paw.
It's
an incredible thing. It's an incredible thing. It's incredible.
This reminds me of the story of a husband and wife go out. They go not antiquing, but like tag selling, and the wife buys a frame with a picture in it because she likes the frame for $5. No. And like a couple of years go by, she goes, "Are you ever going to get that frame done? So I get the frame out." So the husband reluctantly, goes to the barn or whatever garage and pulling, the back off of it. It's an older piece, and something flies out of the back. And when he picks it up, it's an actual original copy of the Declaration of
Independence. Yeah, it's one of the broadsides. Yeah,
I think
it's
incredible. Sold for either.
There was like 200 of them.
1.5 million or 4.5 million.
I think they said they made 200 of them.
Yep.
And only 26 that they know of have shown up. Somewhere around in there. I mean, I think I'm right. Froze, do you know anything about that one? I'm not sure. All right, I'm going to play this quick little clip here. This is the last bit of the actual Sons of Liberty that we have. And again, I tried to pull little clips and gifs and stuff to give you an idea of what it's actually like, because there's no way I'm surprised I'm getting away with this much, trust me. And I might not still. So here we go. It really was a great show. This guy did fantastic as Paul Revere. He really, really did. Great actor. It made it very believable and badass.
Independence.
Now that's the truth. See the difference?
Yes.
Yep. So good, man. So good. There are parts in this that really took you away, Now, I don't know if you guys saw that. That was at the very end of the third episode of that show. But they did have moments where they combined some speeches and things like that. And some they did spot on. So again, your only weapon is knowledge, and how much you can handle watching something else and having your brain get all new visuals to these actors. And can you handle it? Because if you can handle that, you can handle what's on the news now. If you can't do it, don't watch the freaking news. This is a test. It may become an actual emergency soon. We'll let you know when to break the glass. So, I mean, thoughts on that speech. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's a powerful speech.
Yeah. I mean, it gives me chills. Just yeah. Yeah, definitely. It gives me chills.
Absolutely.
Very
And it's so
powerful.
good. Yeah. We need that speech now. And that's it. That's a parallel all the way through this whole thing. This is why we're doing it. We're all like Washington, trying not to lose our temper and our shit, our absolute batshit crazy shit, because we could go on I guarantee I could go on probably about a good 11, 12 hours before I started to nod off, and then pop up and start blurting stuff out like I had political Tourette's right now. But I can't do it. So get on the email somebody that knows how to handle Rumble and help me sort my channels, because I'm so scared to hit the button on one and knock the wrong one off. So, but if you guys know how to do it, if not, we're gonna have to start all over. You have to get over there and sub on my new channel, and we'll lose all our emojis and everything else. I'm gonna give it a whirl because I want to be able to talk about this stuff, because I think it's important that while we can, and this is our pub. This is our Green Dragon.
Yeah.
That's the key word, while we can, because a lot of the things that made that speech so chilling to me is the fact that so much of what they fought so hard for is possibly going to be in jeopardy now, and in some ways, because everything's being changed or trying to be changed.
Look what's happening in the UK right now for posting on Facebook.
Not kidding.
Okay. So
look at the USA. God,
I'm going to remind you of two things that were Revolutionary War quotes that are more valid today than ever before.
Please share.
The tree of liberty needs to be refreshed with blood of patriots, which it does.
And often, I believe, or is it something else?
And then
that was Jefferson. Yeah.
And revolution is good now and again. Okay. One of the caveats in this whole Declaration of Independence in the Constitution is we, the people, have the right to to stop tyranny.
This is true. But you also have to remember, Bowden, it's in your yard. It's in your front yard, and war is hell. And you cannot walk lightly into the. I'm just telling you, that's the whole 100%. Point of this too. That whole speech with Patriot, they came in and said, you have to understand, when you say go, it's a go. I mean, it's not a game. It's not, in some cases it's necessary, in some others it's way necessary, in many different directions you can look right now. But you're also understanding that I think at some point the adults in the room have to start, like do the Kennedy Northwoods, like, tap the brakes. I can remember a time where things could be just like as they are now, in say globally, and they weren't for 4 years. Why? Because the adults sat around the table and they said, what do you want? What do you really want? All we want to be able to do is get, there's a special maple syrup that comes out of Vermont. Can we get that without a tax? Absolutely. What do you want? I really like Cuban cigars. You can have them. No problem. You're going to let us run our world? Yeah. Well, the Native Americans are a little upset. I remember somebody who said, wait a minute, what's holding things up? Well, they're mad because they want to run the pipeline through their only water source. Well, get them in here. Let's talk about it. What do you guys need? We don't want it to go through the water source. Can it go around it? Yeah, we don't have a problem with that. What's that going to cost? An extra $2 million. So do it.
Right.
That's how it was handled. I know for a fact that conversation happened. And it wasn't very long ago.
Nope.
And there was no new wars. You understand? There was no, I saw somebody walk across a border in North Korea, for the love of God, and shake hands with somebody I had heard was just so, do you see what I mean? Question everything, but understand that every other president up until then that got that far was in the bushes with binoculars. I have video.
Yeah, it's, unfortunately.
Think about it. Just think about it. We can't get deep into it, but just be careful.
No, I'm just saying that a lot of people choose war because it generates a tremendous
money
amount
on both sides, and everybody's hand over fist. It's so true. But listen, somebody's got to say there's a way to do this, and this is exactly what Sam was saying. Yes, I agree with everything, and he would say all of these things.
Yep.
But he was also trying to find a way to, how do you get people to the emotional point of doing something, but not being like them? We're trying real hard, you know, and everybody's trying to hold back, and it has nothing to do with that. You must understand something sometimes that people misunderstand. There's two things that can really help you in the future here. You must remember, it doesn't matter how big the room is. The most dangerous person in the room is not the loudest person. The most dangerous person in the room is not the loudest person. The loudest person in the room is the most insecure. The quiet person, that's the most dangerous one. That's one. Two, it's very hard to stop the bleeding and the bullets once they start. And there is a way for adults in the room to say, what do you need? What do you really want? You know, it's not about, it shouldn't be about power or anything else. There is no reason why people on this green earth can't all coincide all at once and do their thing. People tried to do it tribally, and eventually the bad guys, look, everybody knew who they were, and everybody got together and they, you know, try to squish it down or say, how much land do you really need to where you're not going to come over here and bother us? You know, and there's always been squabbles. There's always been Hatfields and McCoys, you know, but the thing is, the majority of people can actually function because we all want the same thing. Everybody wants to breathe air and breathe back out. Everybody wants to eat. Everybody wants their loved ones to be okay. Everybody wants the pursuit of happiness. The pursuit of happiness. You're not promised it. You're not entitled to shit. The world doesn't owe you nothing. And that's what they were saying too. To allow me the freedom to try a fair chance. A fair chance. What's going on now is not, and it's being thrown in your face, and a double standard is being put up there, and it's meant to weaken you, and it should not. Take a little piece of all the truth you know about these people, men, women, and children. The first person that was shot was an 11-year-old boy, right?
Wow. Yeah.
The Boys of Liberty. Okay? His name was Chris Sider. And he's buried right there with the other 5 that were shot at the Boston Massacre. Sam made sure of that. Yes, he used it. You bet he did. There was more people at that funeral, but they made sure the world knew. And some people even say that that was the shot that was heard around the world. The Boston Massacre pushed all that forward across the seas and the oceans, and it really started to get going. So what would it take here?
Well,
have we heard that yet? Have we heard that shot yet? You know? And I would think twice before I allowed anybody in there that wanted to put your kids in boots and send them in a foreign war again.
100%.
To fight for nothing and to line their pockets again, knowing
where's
the
my
truth.
charger?
Don't allow it.
I'm gonna say something, and I'm not an advocate.
And then I'm gonna hit this before we get too far, because we're gonna. I'm gonna look in the morning, and all my shit's gonna be gone.
I'm not an advocate, and I'm not, you know.
It is a slow burn, baby.
Pro, you know, guns and bullets, okay, but we're at a point where there comes a time when that unfortunately is the only solution. And people that are trained for this, anybody who's been to war never wants to go there again. But if your life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, that opportunity that Sam Adams just talked about is being taken from you, then unfortunately, freedom is not free. And we may get to a point where it has to happen again.
Yeah, and I think everybody knows that, Bri. I think the main thing is the main thing is to look back at them and say, what was the strength that made these gentlemen sit down and talk before they knew they, you know, the last thing? Because everybody here, light workers, know that the light beats the dark. Everybody 100%. Here is having a hard time getting through the day. Everybody's here seeing, you know, all this stuff and all this fear. My job is to put out there and go, look, all of these people made it through, one way or another, or made a choice for whatever reason to move forward in their direction to do those things. Right now, we've got to put out this, like, we're not moving. You're not taking this from us. Right now, we still have things in the game that is working in our favor. And I think everybody needs to step back and look at the 40,000 foot view instead of focusing on the stuff that they're trying to push you to.
Right.
And stand back and be patient and go, okay, what do I have to do right now? Yes, what Brian's talking about, if something happened, of course. If anything happened, but you have to follow the rules. I watched a lady yesterday, I think maybe day before. She was 62-ish, somewhere around. There's some kind of Hatfield McCoy going on in the neighborhood. Everybody's going slap in the streets, and the road rage and the neighbor rage and all that. And the lady's beating on her door, and it just raged the woman so much and scared her. I don't know their situation. I don't know if she had anxiety. Everybody's got something now. Holy shit.
Right.
Yeah, I don't understand it. But she shot her through the door. That is not a legal shot, people. That is not, I'm scared. They have to come in the door. If she had waited until she sit up, put her back against the wall and waited, they come in the door and then did it, she'd have been fine. But now she's going to jail. And she's 60 some years old. And she's probably got some, at least at the very least, PTSD and trauma. So you must keep your wits about you. You must think like, like that's another thing that upsets me about the Sons of Liberty, because they showed these gentlemen and these people, these not too many women, but a few, losing their absolute control, beating people in the streets with logs, which never happened. And it offends me that they're lying about people that I know are great examples of how to get through the times we're in right now. And they're mucking around with it. And that's no small thing to me, because they didn't only leave us those things, but they left us something else. This is kind of a little surprise here. I think it's cool to watch. And, little things you don't normally see, but I think it's important to see something like this, because it kind of at the end here reminds you that they really did exist. This really did happen. So here we go. Let me see if I can hit it right. Incredible.
We received a call from the State House about a time capsule found in the cornerstone of the building. They had known of the time capsule. There were a lot of historical reports about the time capsule having been interred by Paul Revere and Sam Adams and William Scully in 1795.
We knew it had been reinterred there in 1855, and there were pretty good records of that event. But that's a long time ago. We weren't sure what condition it would be in.
So we really didn't know what we were getting into until that day. We had riggers working with us to make sure that the stone could be safely suspended so that I could get underneath.
I think we presumed that it would be relatively easy to chip away at the plaster and pop it out. It took 7 hours.
Oh, yes.
We were very nervous about what we might find. And that's about it. I think the most exciting part of this whole process really was the big reveal that evening, to finally have an opportunity to look inside that box and see what was there and be able to show it to others.
They deposited a number of items in the initial insertion in 1795. They included some coinage of the time.
There are a couple of things that were found that I found so exciting, and one was the pine tree shilling from 1652. And in the 17th century, Massachusetts Bay Colony produced their own currency, which was illegal from the point of the King of England. So having these coins was a way of saying, see, we've been an independent people for a long, long time.
They had put in a silver plate, which basically set the purpose of their mission there.
This cornerstone of a building intended for the use of the legislative and executive branches of government of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts was laid by His Excellency Samuel Adams, Esquire, Governor of said Commonwealth, assisted by the Most Worshipful Paul Revere, Grand Master, and the Right Worshipful William Scully, Deputy Grand Master.
Samuel Adams was a Mason. He was attended by Paul Revere, who was the Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Masons in Massachusetts. This was a Masonic ceremony, start to finish.
What's important about the Freemasons is that they believe of what became an ideology of the Republic.
The date that they chose for the laying of the cornerstone was highly significant because remember, this is July 4th.
They realized this was something pretty big. They weren't just building a building. They were building a symbol of the importance of government, of citizens.
The U.S. in 1795 was a very young country. Washington was in his second term. I think the men of the Revolutionary era understood the importance of what they had started as a new nation. They knew they were part of this great experiment of a new republic.
They were aware of the fact that they lived in turbulent and important times. What was happening then was really something very special. I think they were aware of that fact. I think they were trying to pass that message on forward.
Paul Revere touched these things. Sam Adams touched these things. This is like a voice coming to us 200 and many years later.
It's a tangible bridge to history. It's a tangible bridge to people like Revere and Adams.
I think that those two remarkable big figures were men of action. They clearly were people who not only debated things in a time when so much of politics is conflict with words and inaction. They were men of action who got things done.
At a time when, again, on a global scale, we see these basic concepts, threatened and at risk. I think that it's really important to remember where they came from, how hard people fought to give them to us, and how important they really must be to all of us.
Government has over our lives.
I think you're mute.
There we go. So how about that guy? He wanted to just jump us right into Liberty. That was kind of cool. But I thought I'd share that with you, a time capsule that these gentlemen actually put in that was just open not very long ago. And it kind of it brings you back like, wow, it's really not that long ago that they went through all this. And like the guy said, and Bryan too, and everybody here, when you get in tumultuous times, you stop and smart people sit back and count their blessings and look back and realize the things that are precious. I think that's what everybody's doing right now. But, you can also gain a lot of strength from these guys. They went through it. All these people did, all throughout history. And that's why it's important to tell the truth about it. Right, guys?
100%.
Yep. So go ahead. We're closing out.
I'm connected to this because Paul Revere is my brother. George Washington is my brother. There's a lot of brothers out there. And when everybody thinks this nefarious stuff about Freemasons.
That's a whole nother episode, Bowden.
No, I know that, but it's not like that. There are, the ideals, a lot of what's in our Constitution, Declaration of Independence, is that we are all created equal, and we have that right.
And it also matches up close to the Iroquois Confederation, which is where a lot of the Constitution comes from. Lynn, what do you summing up the Sons of Liberty? And you saw the first episode, correct?
Yes.
And you pretty much got the gist of how it was going to go. You saw how it was rolling, right?
Yeah,
were you
exactly.
surprised? Were you surprised when it came in? Because you went in cold. You weren't expecting anything. You weren't expecting it. What did you really think about first impression when you saw how Sam Adams was? What did it do to your head after knowing what he was really like? And that shift, it's like almost whiplash, isn't it? Historical whiplash.
It is. And now having the things pointed out that were more truthful versus the things that were not is also, important and very eye-opening as well. So it also then does another whiplash thing. Thing. But I actually watched it twice to make sure, you get all those extra little tidbits and things like that. And I'm really anxious to see the rest of it. Sorry.
Well, watch it through. And this is what, I think we lost her. So, girl, if you can hear me, or just pop back in and say goodnight or whatever, and promote your stuff. But listen, it's omnipresent and .com, and go over there. All her wonderful books and all of her shows. She was on Gaia and Coast to Coast with Nore and all that kind of stuff. So please get over there and support Lynn and all the shows she's got coming up. She's in a couple conventions coming, I believe. So do that. But and I don't know how we lost her, but I think she said her battery was going, which is mine is as well over here. But how did you had not seen it? I know you watched a lot of Liberty and you've been watching us in and out. Going into this, that it interests me so much to somebody that understands a little history or a lot of history. I don't know, what you knew going in. How did it affect you when you first saw Adams?
Well, it's actually interesting. I prefer someone that's looks a little bit more like the person and the age and what have you. When we were talking about it prior to the show, it rang a bell with me, and then when I started to watch it, I'm like, oh yeah,
Liberty Bell.
I watched this. I've seen this.
Okay,
because
okay.
I've seen it. This is, when you're born on the 4th of July and you grow up in Independence Avenue, it's important for me. And it's important if you're an American. This is our base, and you really need to start learning more about it.
Absolutely.
Because, it's just,
and that's what we're trying
important.
to do. That's what that's what we're trying to do. We're in there doing it. So next week, what we're doing is we're starting to watch Turn. Now, Turn is available. I haven't found it commercial free, but you can watch it on multiple. I don't know if it's on Plex. I think it's on Tubi. At least 2 seasons are there. Froze, do you know where you can watch Turn? We are getting into the spy ring, the Culper spy ring. We're going to dig into this thing. Brian, come aboard with us. Ride the train.
No problem.
We're going to dig back. We're going to do the history on that. We're going to dig into the things they actually did. Videos, send them to my email if you find them. If you've got something out there that you think we should watch. And I had one more thing I was going to send. I'm going to try to send this link. Brian, tell us what you're doing this week while I grab this link. Wanted to share with everybody.
What am I doing this week?
You got you up on shows. You got books coming out. Well, you're in conventions. You got Bigfoots, Dogmens. What do you got?
I think I have a couple of shows coming up, but the first weekend in September, I will be up in Western PA for the Bigfoot PA camping weekend, and I'll be doing a workshop up there. It's a great event. You don't have to stay at the campground, but they do have places for you to stay. And you should come there. There's a lot of celebrities that will be there. Celebrities, I'm not one of them, but you get to hang out with some important people that you probably know and have seen, and you get to learn some interesting stuff. So I'm going to be using my time to talk about active intelligent encounters, where you're using your consciousness to initiate an encounter with Bigfoot and other things.
Wow. So bring your log to Bang on the Tree with Bowden there. Get your tickets and
actually bring your
while
singing
they're hot
bowls.
Singing.
Yes.
Oh, that's just such a cool thing. We should do an episode down the line on that. Maybe around Christmas. Plan something out. We'll do something around Christmas. Everybody can join in and stuff. That would be great.
And,
I've got a lot of friends who do that. You do too. All right. So I wanted to share this with you. Another free thing that's out there. And again, I've told you, go watch The Time of Their Lives, Abbott and Costello. That's very Revolutionary War. It's all ghosts. It's one that gets it right. 1938. They get the paranormal right. It's an absolute blast of a movie. It's you can watch it for free on my channel. It's down in there. Just The Time of Their Lives, Abbott and Costello. So you watch that. That's revolutionary and very accurate as well. They talk about George Washington and the whole thing. It's a great movie. Then we talked about 1776. It's a musical done. It's fantastic, though. It really is. The way they put it together about the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And this also is free. So watch this. little dig here. It is called The Drums Along the Mohawk. It is available on archive.com, commercial free. It is absolutely fantastic. It is, look at the costuming on this. It is amazing. This is when they cared. Look at the costumes. And this is when they cared. And it's Henry Fonda. That's Henry Fonda, isn't it? Or is it Jimmy Stewart? I always get them mixed up. It's Fonda, right?
I think it's Henry Fonda.
That's Fonda, and I forgot her name too, and they don't have it written out. Either way, be surprised. Go watch this. This is one of those that absolutely is so true on the war and the cost, and all this other stuff. And I'll tell you, right about here, they go from a happy little couple going off to they just took a hard turn because a bunch of dumb people made some decisions that were very bad, and they wound up in a war, and they're fighting for everything they got, but things took a hard turn quick. And it actually has some great realistic, it reminds me of Bowden a little bit about how they did Gods and Generals in Gettysburg.
Yeah.
And it really focused a lot on the shoulder and the soldier and the families that were, left behind and what they did to get through the war. And, we always think about the soldier and what they went through. And of course it touches everybody. So I wanted to offer that to you guys for free. That is, I think I think it's in the late 30s. I can't remember. It says there on it, but it's free. Archive.org. My friend, thank you for coming on and doing this with me. It's quite the thing. Come back and do Turn in the Spy Ring. We'll have a blast. We'll do ciphers together. We'll do ciphers. We can write on hard-boiled eggs and send secret messages to each other and everything else. So as always, listen, Lynn's sending me messages. She says good night, everybody. Or I guess her phone died. So I love you guys. Thank you for being here. This is part of the Liberty series. We'll be back. So look up on your Turn, because that is one. Now that's one I think. Bri, have you seen it? Are you going in cold on this one as well?
I'd have to actually look a little bit at it.
Okay.
Some of these are a while ago. So
it's three. True. It's 3 seasons. It's history, but I'll tell you what. It's a little bit more like the Titanic side, where they do have some, relationships that they were relationships, but not that kind. They did take a little literary license, but this one got past the historians and the scholars a little bit better than the one we just watched. So look forward to it. Froze, I know you're riding with us, right? Turn is the best. It is absolutely. So throw your comments up. We're going out here on this wonderful clip of Sam Adams again. I can't think of any other way to say goodnight, and I love you. Thank you, my brother. My love to the fam dam.
Right back at you.
Wherever you are, we love you too. Thanks for being here.
Lynn.
Liberty next Sunday night. See you tomorrow night with Steve, and we are doing Swamp Monsters tomorrow night. There you go. We love you. Good night, honey.
Good night.
That's all.